The sun hung low over Rome, casting a golden haze across the ancient city as our family reunion trip unraveled at Fiumicino Airport. My name is Sarah Jenkins, and at 42, I'd spent most of my life as the reliable sibling, the one who fixed problems, balanced budgets, and kept the peace. As a real estate agent in Atlanta, I dealt with high-stakes negotiations daily, but nothing prepared me for the betrayal waiting at that check-in counter. We'd flown in from Georgia 2 weeks earlier. Me, my older brother Tom, 45, his wife Lisa, 43, and my younger sister Becca, 39. Our parents had passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, leaving behind the family farm in rural Texas, a sprawling 500-acre property with rolling hills, a modest house, and, as we'd recently discovered, potential oil reserves beneath the soil. The trip to Italy was my idea, or at least that's how they framed it. I'd fronted a chunk of the costs, flights, hotels, even some excursions, hoping it would heal the fractures that had grown since Mom and Dad's will was read. The farm was left to all three of us equally, but I'd been the one managing it, paying taxes and handling upkeep from afar. Tom and Becca saw it as a cash cow. I saw it as our legacy. The argument erupted like a summer storm. We were at the Alitalia counter, passports in hand, when Tom pulled me aside. "Sarah, we've been talking," he said, his voice low but insistent, Lisa nodding behind him like a backup singer. "The farm's draining us. Property taxes are up, and with the oil surveys confirming those reserves, we could sell to that developer for millions. Split 3 ways, we'd all be set." I shook my head, clutching my carry-on. "No, Tom. Mom and Dad wanted us to keep it in the family. It's not just land, it's where we grew up. And those oil rights? Drilling would ruin the soil. I've been researching eco-friendly options, maybe turning it into a sustainable retreat." Becca chimed in, her eyes pleading but edged with frustration. "Come on, Sarah. You're always so practical until it matters. Lisa and I could use the money for the kids' college funds. Tom's business is struggling. You're single, no family. What are you holding on to it for?" The words stung, a reminder of my failed marriage 5 years back and the childless life that followed. But I stood firm. "I'm not signing anything. We discussed this back home with lawyers." That's when it turned ugly. Tom snatched my passport from the counter where I'd set it down to adjust my bag. "Fine, handle it yourself then." They collected their boarding passes, and as I reached for mine, the agent shook her head. "Señora, your ticket has been canceled, per the group leader's request." My heart plummeted. "What? That's impossible. I paid for it." Tom shrugged, already turning towards security with Lisa and Becca in tow. "Figure it out, Sarah. You're the expert." Becca glanced back once, mouth opening as if to protest, but Lisa tugged her arm and they vanished into the crowd. I stood there, frozen, the airport's hum amplifying my isolation. No phone. Becca had borrowed it for selfies earlier and never returned it. No wallet. Lisa had insisted on holding our documents in her purse for safekeeping. I had maybe 20 euros in my pocket from a gelato stand. Panic clawed at my throat as I rushed to the information desk, explaining in broken English and frantic gestures. The staff sympathized but couldn't help without ID. Security loomed, ready to escort me out. That's when he appeared. A man in a tailored navy suit, polished loafers gleaming under the fluorescent lights, approached with purposeful strides. He looked mid-40s, with salt and pepper hair, sharp features, and an air of quiet command, like a CEO stepping into a boardroom. "Excuse me," he said, his Texas drawl cutting through the chaos. "I couldn't help overhearing. You need a way out?" I eyed him warily, adrenaline surging. "Who are you?" "Marcus Reed, 45, oil tycoon from Dallas, and you look like someone who could use a temporary alliance." He glanced at the security guards inching closer. "Pretend you're my wife. My driver's pulling up outside. We'll sort the details in the car." It was insane, a stranger's whisper in a foreign airport, but desperation won. I nodded, linking my arm with his as we walked out. His limo idled at the curb, a sleek black Mercedes with tinted windows. The driver, a stoic man named Carlos, held the door without a word. As we pulled away from the terminal, Rome's traffic blurring past, I finally exhaled. "Okay, Mr. Reed, explain." He leaned back, crossing his legs. "Call me Marcus. I was in Rome for a conference on sustainable energy. Ironic, given my line of work. Saw your family ditch you. Reminded me of my own messes. I'm in the middle of a nasty divorce. My ex, Vanessa, is fighting for custody of our 2 kids, claiming I'm unstable after a rough patch in the business. Lost a big rig investment last year. Grief from my parents' passing didn't help my decisions." I listened, piecing it together. "And the pretend wife?" "In 2 weeks, there's a charity rodeo gala in Dallas. Big oil players, conservative crowd. They like stability, family men. Showing up with a wife on my arm quiets the rumors Vanessa's spreading, buys me time in court." "Why me, a random stranded woman?" "You didn't crumble. You fought back at that desk. Resourceful. I need that, not some hired actress who'd crack under questions." He outlined the deal. Pose as his wife for the event and prep, in exchange for a private jet home tonight, a luxury condo in Dallas, $100,000 wired discreetly, and help uncovering what my siblings were really up to. That abandonment feels planned. I'll have my PI look into it. The offer dangled like a lifeline. $100,000 could cover farm taxes for years, maybe fund those eco upgrades. But trust? What's to stop me from spilling everything? Mutual NDA. And honestly, I'm vulnerable too. Vanessa's got dirt on a deal where I overpaid due to stress. One wrong move and I lose the kids. His candor disarmed me. As the limo neared a private airstrip, I weighed the risks. Back in Atlanta, I had an empty apartment, a stalled career post-divorce, and now this family rift. This could be my reset. "Deal," I said, shaking his hand. "But my terms. No real intimacy, full control over our backstory, and if it feels off, I walk." Agreed. The jet waited, a Gulfstream with leather seats and a stocked bar. We boarded, and as it taxied, exhaustion hit. Marcus worked on his tablet, giving me space. I stared out at the fading Coliseum lights, a mix of fear and defiance brewing. They thought they'd broken me. They'd learn otherwise. The flight across the Atlantic felt surreal. Champagne offered by the attendant, but I stuck to water, mind racing. Marcus shared more. His company, Reed Energy, specialized in oil but was pivoting to green tech. The divorce had dragged on for a year, Vanessa using his workaholic tendencies against him in custody hearings. She wants full control, alimony, the works. The galas where I seal a partnership with old-school investors. They hate drama. I nodded, sharing my side. The farm's everything. Parents built it from nothing. Tom wants to sell for quick cash. Becca's easily swayed. I suspect they've been plotting this. By touchdown in Dallas at dawn, a black SUV waited. We drove to a high-rise in Uptown, the city skyline glittering. His condo, penthouse level, was sleek. Marble floors, panoramic views, minimalist decor. "Your suite's down the hall," Marcus said. "Maria, the housekeeper, will get you settled. Rest. We'll talk strategy later." Maria, a kind woman in her 50s with a warm smile, showed me to a guest room. King bed, ensuite bath, closet stocked with clothes in my size. "Mr. Reed thought ahead," she said. I showered, the hot water easing travel grime, then collapsed into bed. But sleep evaded me. I used the new phone Marcus provided to call my best friend, Carla, back in Atlanta, a fellow realtor who'd always had my back. "Sarah,
Thank God. Your brother called, said you freaked out at the airport, accused them of stealing, and stormed off. They're worried you're having a breakdown. My grip tightened. That's a lie. They canceled my ticket, took my stuff, left me stranded. Carla gasped. I knew something was off. Tom mentioned getting help for you. Something about protecting the farm if you're not stable. Sounded like legal talk. Ice shot through me. Guardianship? Maybe. He said your erratic choices post-divorce, like turning down that job offer last year, prove you're not thinking straight. They're eyeing the oil rights, said a survey showed big potential. The pieces clicked. The farm's value had spiked with those reserves. If they painted me as incompetent, they could petition Texas courts for conservatorship over my share, forcing a sale. Forward everything they've sent, I told Carla. My phone buzzed with emails, drafts of affidavits citing my isolation, old texts where I'd vented about stress, even a doctor's note from anxiety meds after the divorce.
Anger fueled me. I marched to Marcus's home office, a glass-walled space with oil rig models and stock tickers. He looked up from calls. Trouble? Worse than we thought. I showed him the screenshots. They're building a case for guardianship, using my past to claim I'm unfit, targeting the farm. Marcus scrolled, frowning. Smart play. In Texas, adult conservatorships are tough but possible with evidence of incapacity, financial mismanagement, mental health issues. Yours is thin, but if they push, a judge might order evaluation. We stop it now. He nodded. My lawyer, Harlan Brooks, handles family law. I'll loop him in. Harlan arrived within the hour, a burly Texan in boots and a suit, exuding courtroom grit. He reviewed the docs. They're prepping a petition, no filing yet, but these concerns list erratic behavior, canceled meetings, withdrawn savings for personal trips, twisting normals into red flags. What do we do? Counter-aggressive. Affidavits from colleagues on your competence, financial records showing smart management, maybe a psych eval to prove stability. Marcus added, Vanessa's pulling similar on me, claiming grief impaired judgments. We're in parallel fights. That shared vulnerability bonded us. As Harlan left with marching orders, I dove into research on my new laptop. Texas guardianship laws, petition requirements, hearing processes. Knowledge was power. I wouldn't be caught off guard again. The next days blurred into gala prep. Marcus's team swarmed the condo. Stylists, PR folks, event planners. I jumped in, my real estate instincts kicking in. Reviewing the rodeo program, a mix of auctions, speeches, and bull riding demos, I spotted flaws. The seating's off, I said in a meeting. Group investors by interests. Renewables near greens, traditional oil with conservatives. Avoid rivals clashing. The coordinator blinked but adjusted. When a sponsor wavered, citing Marcus's personal instability, I drafted a response. Highlight recent wins like a solar oil hybrid project. They recommitted, upping their bid. Marcus noticed. You're a natural. Ever thought of corporate real estate? Stuck to residential, but this feels right. We crafted our backstory, met at a Texas land conference 2 years ago, bonded over farm routes, mine real, his embellished. Rehearsals were intense, mock entrances, Q&A drills. How'd you propose? A pretend reporter asked. Marcus grinned. On horseback at sunset. She's a ranch girl at heart. I laughed, adding, he botched the ring, dropped it in the dirt, but I said yes anyway. It flowed naturally, building ease between us. Late nights, we'd debrief over coffee on the balcony, city lights below. Marcus opened up. Lost my folks young, built the company from scratch. Vanessa wanted the lifestyle, not the work. Kids are caught in the middle. I shared divorce scars. Ex left for someone younger, left me questioning everything. But the farm, it's my anchor. One evening, Harlan called with updates. Your siblings landed in Dallas, staying at a hotel downtown. Word is they're meeting a lawyer tomorrow. My stomach nodded. For the petition?
Likely, but we've got ammo. Your real estate closings last year show sharp decisions. Colleagues' statements incoming. The gala loomed, a pressure cooker. I toured the venue, a sprawling arena with chandeliers and hay bales for that Texas flair. I tweaked layouts, wider aisles for mingling, spotlight shifts for speeches. Vendors got my firm hand. Florists on late deliveries, caterers on menu tweaks for dietary VIPs. The night before, in a fitted emerald gown that hugged my curves, I stared at my reflection. The woman looking back was poised, eyes fierce. This wasn't just Marcus's battle, it was mine. Work had forged purpose from panic. Gala night arrived under a starlit Texas sky. The arena buzzed, cowboy hats mingling with suits, champagne flowing. Marcus and I entered arm in arm, flashes popping. "Mrs. Reed," a guest greeted. I smiled, channeling confidence. But midway through cocktails, Marcus's phone lit up. Gossip site reposted Vanessa's claims. Anonymous sources alleging his emotional lapses tanked deals. Whispers spread. A key investor, old-school oil baron Chet Harlan, no relation to the lawyer, cooled noticeably. I watched, then intervened. "Mr. Harlan," I said, approaching with poise. "Sarah Reed, involved in Marcus's green initiatives. Heard you're skeptical?" He grunted. "Rumors fly. Need stability for partnerships." Understandable. I pulled up prepped slides on my phone, projections showing recovery. Look, post-adjustment yields up 15%. We're diversifying, oil with solar, secure returns. He scrolled, thawing. Not public yet? Soon. Marcus fixes issues head-on. That's why this works. By auction's end, Chet signed, with caveats but committed. As we left in the limo, Marcus loosened his tie. "You saved that, but Vanessa's escalating, filing for emergency custody tomorrow using tonight's buzz." I nodded. "We need more, something ironclad." He met my eyes. "Marry me, on paper, 1-year contract. Proves stability to courts, boards. Full comp, $300,000, project role, asset protection for your farm." The proposal hung heavy, logical, yet loaded. Terms? Exit anytime. You control narrative. Hayes, wait, Reed name optional post-dissolution. We shook on it as the city lights faded. Days later, at a quiet courthouse, we signed. No fanfare, just stamps. As Sarah Reed on paper, I felt armored. This was strategy, not salvation. The move to Marcus's ranch outside Dallas followed, a 200-acre spread with stables, pools, and ocean-like prairies. Privacy from prying eyes as media sniffed our whirlwind marriage. My role deepened. Reed Energy's coastal resort project, blending oil sites with luxury eco-lodges. In the ranch office, waves of grass outside, I pored over reports. Add wellness amenities, I suggested. Spas, trails, boosts year-round appeal. Marcus incorporated it, valuing my input. Harlan updated. Siblings filed the guardianship petition, citing erratic refusals to sell, post-divorce isolation. Thin, but hearing set. I rallied evidence. Closing docs, tax filings, testimonials. Marcus's case paralleled. Vanessa challenged his fitness, but our marriage blunted it. Late nights, docs scattered, we bonded over battles. Grief pushed bad calls, Marcus admitted, pivoting now. Show resilience, I urged, refining briefs. Then Harlan's call. They're here, at the ranch gate, want to talk. Tension spiked. I steeled myself as Maria announced them. Marcus stepped back. Your show. In the foyer, Tom, Lisa, Becca stood, defiant, awkward. You married him? Some oil guy? This proves you're unstable. Lisa nodded. We're helping, Sarah. Come home. Drop this charade. I crossed arms. Help by petitioning guardianship to force the farm sale? Becca shifted. We didn't. Tom cut in. You vanished in Rome. We had to protect assets. Harlan emerged, papers ready. Petitions weak, just twisted emails. Lisa flushed. He's using you for his divorce.
No, I said evenly. You're using me for money. Withdraw the petition or I countersue for fraud. Tom scoffed. Family doesn't sue. This one does. Becca teared up. Sarah, please. But they left, unresolved. I drafted complaints. Fraudulent control attempt. Emotional duress. The hearing loomed. Our fates intertwined. The weeks after the confrontation at the ranch gate passed in a blur of legal filings, strategy sessions, and quiet evenings on the wide veranda where the Texas wind carried the scent of mesquite and distant rain. Harlan Brooks worked relentlessly, turning every document I'd ever signed, every closing I'd handled, every client testimonial into a fortress of evidence proving my competence. Marcus's team did the same for him, weaving our paper marriage into a narrative of stability that Vanessa's attorneys couldn't easily unravel. Tom, Lisa, and Becca didn't back down. Instead, they doubled their efforts. Harlan forwarded me a new batch of emails they'd sent to mutual acquaintances, old high school friends, church members, even a former boss, painting a picture of a grieving, isolated sister who'd spiraled since our parents' deaths and the divorce. They attached screenshots of texts I'd sent during my lowest months. I can't get out of bed today, and I don't know who I am anymore. Normal grief, normal heartbreak, but in their hands it became proof of incapacity. They scheduled depositions, requested financial records for the farm, and even subpoenaed my therapy notes from 5 years earlier. I read it all in the ranch office one afternoon, sunlight slanting through the blinds, dust motes dancing in the air. My hands shook, not from fear, but from a cold, clarifying rage. They weren't protecting me, they were dismantling me piece by piece to get their payout. Marcus walked in, loosening his tie after a conference call. You okay?
No, I said, voice steady, but I'm done reacting. It's time to go on offense. He nodded once, no hesitation. Tell me what you need. We spent the next 48 hours building a counterattack. Harlan filed an emergency motion to dismiss the guardianship petition on grounds of bad faith and lack of probable cause. We attached affidavits from 3 separate real estate brokers who'd worked with me in the last year, each praising my negotiation skills and attention to detail. We included profit and loss statements for the farm, showing I'd kept it solvent despite rising taxes. Most damning, bank records proving Tom had tried to access the farm's operating account without my authorization 2 months earlier, an attempt I'd shut down immediately. On Marcus's side, Vanessa's legal team tried to subpoena our marriage certificate, claiming it was a sham designed to influence the custody case. Harlan countered with a motion to quash, arguing that our private contractual arrangement was irrelevant to Marcus's parenting ability. The judge agreed, for now. The guardianship hearing was set for mid-November in the county courthouse where our parents had once renewed their vows. I flew back to Georgia 2 days early, staying in a quiet Airbnb outside Atlanta to avoid running into anyone I knew. Carla met me for coffee the night before, her face tight with worry. They've been telling everyone you've been manipulated by some rich oil guy, spreading stories that he's keeping you isolated on a ranch, controlling your money. I laughed, bitter. That's rich coming from them. The morning of the hearing, I dressed in the navy suit I wore for million-dollar closings. Sharp, professional, no room for doubt. Harlan picked me up in his truck, and we drove the hour south in silence. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, smelling of lemon polish and old paper. Tom, Lisa, and Becca sat on the petitioner's side with their attorney, a slick Dallas firm partner named Greg Langford. They didn't look at me when I entered. I took my place beside Harlan, spine straight, hands folded. Judge Elena Ramirez, a no-nonsense woman in her late 50s, called the case. Langford opened with a somber tone, portraying me as a vulnerable woman overwhelmed with loss, making increasingly irrational decisions about valuable family property. He projected slides of my old texts, highlighted phrases like, "I don't trust my own judgment anymore." He called Becca to the stand. My sister's voice wavered as she testified. "Sarah's been different since Mom and Dad died. She sold the cattle without consulting us, spent money on some eco-study no one asked for. After Rome, we were scared. She accused us of things that weren't true. We just want to protect her." Harlan's cross-examination was surgical. He walked Becca through the farm's finances, how selling the cattle had paid off a looming tax lien, how the eco-study had attracted a grant that covered its cost twice over. He asked about the Rome trip, who booked the tickets, who held the passports, who canceled mine. Becca stumbled, eyes flicking to Tom. "It was a misunderstanding," she mumbled.
Tom took the stand next, all righteous indignation. "We've always looked out for Sarah. She's stubborn, always has been. But this marriage to a man she barely knows, moving to his ranch, it's not rational." Harlan played a recording, Tom's own voicemail to a developer 3 months earlier, offering the farm's oil rights to appraisal once we get Sarah on board or handled. Tom's face went ashen. When it was my turn, I walked to the stand calmly. Harlan asked about my career, my management of the farm, my mental health history. I answered directly. Yes, I'd grieved. Yes, I'd sought therapy. No, I'd never been diagnosed with any condition impairing my decision-making. I described the airport abandonment in detail, producing the canceled ticket receipt and security footage Marcus's PI had obtained from Fiumicino. Langford tried to rattle me on cross, suggesting I'd been swept up by a wealthy man, that our marriage was convenience, not love. I met his eyes. "My personal life is not on trial here," I said. "My ability to manage my own affairs is, and the evidence shows I've done so competently for years, even when others tried to undermine me." Judge Ramirez recessed for an hour. When she returned, her ruling was swift. The court finds insufficient evidence of incapacity or imminent harm to warrant guardianship. The petitioners appear to have acted with financial motive rather than genuine concern for Miss Jenkins's welfare. Petition denied with prejudice. Costs assessed to petitioners. Tom stood abruptly as the gavel fell, mouth opening, but Langford pulled him back. Becca was crying quietly. They filed out without a word. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Harlan clapped my shoulder. "You did good, kid." Back in Dallas that night, Marcus waited at the private airstrip, leaning against his truck in jeans and boots, looking more rancher than tycoon. He opened his arms without speaking, and I let him hold me for a long moment under the vast Texas sky. A week later, Vanessa's custody motion suffered a similar blow. The judge cited Marcus's demonstrated period of stability and supportive partnership as evidence against claims of emotional volatility. Temporary custody remained joint, with a final hearing pushed to spring, time we now had. The ranch settled into a rhythm that felt almost peaceful. Mornings, I rode one of the quarter horses along the fence line, wind whipping my hair, the land stretching endless around me. Afternoons, I worked on the coastal resort project, reviewing architectural renderings, negotiating with sustainable materials vendors, pushing for native landscaping that would preserve the dunes. Marcus trusted my instincts more each day, looping me into investor calls where I presented market analyses that closed deals. One December evening, snow flurries surprisingly dusting the prairie, an anomaly for Texas, we sat by the outdoor fire pit, blankets draped over our shoulders, bourbon in hand. "You know the contract year ends in March,"
Marcus said quietly, staring into the flames. I nodded. We'd both been avoiding the topic. I don't want you to leave because a calendar says so, he continued, but I won't trap you either. The choice is yours. I studied his profile, the strong jaw, the lines etched by loss and hard work. What we'd built wasn't romance in the fairy tale sense. It was deeper. Respect forged in shared battles, trust earned through competence, partnership without possession. I'm not going anywhere, I said, but not because of the contract, because I choose this, us, whatever we decide to call it. He turned, eyes searching mine, then leaned in and kissed me, slow, deliberate, the first real kiss we'd allowed ourselves. It tasted like possibility. Spring brought new beginnings. The resort groundbreaking happened on a perfect Gulf Coast day, shovels in sand, investors cheering, renderings of eco-lodges and wellness pavilions unveiled. I stood beside Marcus in a linen dress, hair loose in the salt breeze, feeling more at home than I ever had in Atlanta. Tom reached out once, a stilted email apologizing for how things went, hinting at reconciliation if I'd reconsider the farm's future. I didn't reply. Some fractures don't heal. They teach you where to set boundaries. Becca sent a handwritten letter months later, pages filled with regret, how she'd let fear of financial insecurity silence her conscience, how therapy was helping her see the patterns she'd inherited from our parents' own controlling tendencies. She didn't ask for forgiveness, just offered accountability. I read it twice, then tucked it away. Maybe one day I'd respond. Maybe not. I was no longer waiting for their approval to live my life.
The paper marriage dissolved quietly on the anniversary, as agreed. No drama, no public statement. But I kept the Reed name, not for optics, because it fit the woman I'd become. I launched my own boutique real estate firm specializing in sustainable developments. Small at first, but growing fast on referrals from Marcus's network and my own reputation. The farm in Georgia became a pilot project, converted into an eco-retreat with cabins, hiking trails, and organic gardens. Guests came for weekends of unplugging, leaving reviews about the peace they found among the wildflowers our parents had planted decades ago. Revenue covered costs and then some, proving legacy and profitability could coexist. Marcus and I built a house on a quiet stretch of the ranch. Modern lines, wide porches, a kitchen big enough for the kids when they visited. We never rushed into anything more formal. We didn't need to. What we had was chosen daily, freely. One summer evening, years later, I stood on the new porch watching the sun sink into the prairie, painting the sky in fire and gold. Marcus joined me, handing over a glass of iced tea, his arm sliding around my waist. "You ever think about that day in Rome?" he asked. "Every now and then," I admitted. I was so scared, thought I'd lost everything. "And now?" I smiled, leaning into him. Now I know I hadn't lost anything that mattered. I just hadn't found it yet. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who see your strength when you're at your weakest and stand beside you anyway. Not to rescue, but to fight with you. Sometimes it's the life you build when the old one crumbles, brick by deliberate brick. Betrayal can break you open, but what grows in the cracks, if you tend it, can be stronger than what came before. The Texas wind carried the scent of rain again, promising renewal. I breathed it in, content.